Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. In today's video, I want to talk about the value of guaranteed champions, of saving up, being patient, and how much of an impact that can have on you. I'm doing this, we did a video earlier today. Make sure to check it out if you want to see more info. But there is a 2x, 10x Void Shard event happening midweek for the first time ever, I believe, for Odin Feyfather, so a brand new limited edition champion. And you've got like the 2 layers of gambles stacking on top of each other. Potentially very tempting to some people, but is it worth it versus going for things that are more guaranteed? I get comments sometimes saying, Nub, you're so stingy with your shards. Just pull them all. Just do it. Just do. It'll be so much better for you. Well, let's take a look at the teams that I actually use today. What are the teams? I would consider myself an end game player. What are the key champions I use in my end game teams every single day? Where did I get them? Let's break it down. I haven't done this in advance, so I'm very curious, but I did take a quick glance, and I can tell you for a fact that guaranteed champs are there for sure. So here we go. Let's dive in. So first of all, let's look at my arena teams and champions. And there's a lot of overlap right here. My tag teams right now are like this, trying out some stuff. So usually I actually use a Lord Shazar here for the speed aura, but I'm trying the Mikage in there right now. This is testing out a team for Siege, where we have a slightly worse speed aura, but it's still good. But check out this team. So what do we have in this team? And let's pop it into the spreadsheet. We have a random, okay, let's go. Random Primal Champion. This is a random Void Shard champion for Sifi. This was I would call a progression reward in Mikage. Play the game for long enough, you will get Lady Mikage just from collecting champions. And then Yumiko actually was on a boosted chance event. So actually, I left out a boosted chance event here. So let me copy and paste like this. Let's go for 10x, 15x, and let's put that in to make that more clear. So here we go. This is the spreadsheet, and this is what we've got going on. So we've got just random champions, boosted events, and then guaranteed events. Obviously, guaranteed primal is going to be empty. We've never had one of those before. But let's go in. So we've got Lazarius. Okay, Lazarius, he was a random primal. So that one, not very relatable. Sifi was a random void shard. Okay, random void, Sifi. Next up, we've got Mikage. I'm going to put Mikage as a progression reward. I mean, technically she's a fusion, but it's like I'm counting a permanent fusion as a progression reward. It's just play for long enough to collect the champs and you'll go. And this would also count things like Lydia or Mithrala, that sort of stuff as well. Just play the game long enough and you'll get them, or mission champions, that sort of thing. Free logins as well. Again, we're going to be quite broad. Free logins is both the limited time ones and the permanent ones. But in there, that's what we've got. And then Yumiko, like I said, Yumiko actually, I believe, was one of these events. Was actually the Yumiko where I got her, which was nice. There we go, 10x, 15x coming in clutch. Yumiko is massive. Like I said, I also use Lord Shazar sometimes, who I believe was maybe from a random sacred. So we'll put in Shazar. I often do use Shazar actually in this spot for farming and stuff like that. And I'm in the lead with the aura instead of Mikage. There you go. That's sort of team number 1. Not very relatable. Lots of random champs. Now, team number 2, this one is much spicier because we got Ancora, Elva, Narcisse, and Goffred. The way the team 1 works, by the way, is like we boost up, lock them out. We've got, in fact, 2 buff strips with these, and Lazarius can kill them, or Lazarius can strip their block debuffs, and Shazar can bomb them. That sort of thing. These are not the strongest teams in the world, but they can be surprisingly good. This one, we've got Ancora, Narcisse, so that's the really strong combo. Elva to cleanse and give block debuffs and increase speed. Goffred to protect. I'm actually trying out Goffred at the moment. This is sort of experimental as well to see how he fits in here. Again, this is more to test out something for Siege and for Tag Arena. I would often run Armans in this team in the lead for a better speed aura instead of the Goffred. Or we could take out Elva and put in Armans in the lead and keep Goffred in. There's lots of different potential ways. But with this team, we've got a fusion champion, a guaranteed sacred champion in Elva, fusion champion in Ancora, guaranteed void champion in Narcisse, and a guaranteed ancient champion in Goffred. We have 3 guaranteed champions and a fusion making up this team, which is kind of crazy. So we have the Ancora fusion. Okay. We have a guaranteed ancient in Goffred, a guaranteed void in Narses, and a guaranteed sacred in Elva. Okay, cool. That's a rather guaranteed heavy team. Then team three, this would be the weakest team, but it actually works decently well too. This is a very common, and this one is funny. Why do I say this is the weakest team but very funny? Because we've got free login champion, a fusion, a progression reward in Mikage, and a free login champion in Ultimate Death Knight. So we've got the Wukong, the Armans, and yeah, the idea with this team is like Armans is just always that speed threat about locking them out. Mithrala is in there to stop it being bombed and that sort of stuff, and to cleanse them off and to provide increased attack for Wukong. Wukong can wipe out a whole team if he's not stopped. And Ultimate Death Knight sort of protects the Wukong. So does Mithrala. It's a fun team. This is a very common sort of free to play team I see because it's very free to play. So yeah, let's put it in. So we've got a login champion. Wukong coming in. We had a fusion in Armans coming in, both recent fusions and Korra Armans as well. We had progression reward, Mithrala, and then we had another free login with UDK. Okay, cool. Very nice. So there are the arena teams I use. We put in the Shazar as well. There's a couple of other champs I use for arena, but those are the main ones. And like you could be quite limited because you could be quite limited based off of your gear. I would say other champs, let's actually filter by tag like this. So these other champs I use for arena, half of these I don't actually use, funny enough. I would say within these ranks here, I'd say Rotus is sort of the main one, and Nishak as well, and Ragash. Let's actually put those in. Rotus, Ragash, Nishak. I put in Tormin, Ramantu, Rhonda is sometimes, and even Uko sometimes. These are all the champ. This is kind of crazy. Let's put them in. So Rotus was a random shard. Random Ancient, I believe, was Rotus. Maybe it was Random Sacred. I kind of forget between the Random Ancients and Sacred, so maybe those won't be fully accurate. Rotus was definitely random. But from the others that I'm using all the time, Ragash was a guaranteed Ancient, I actually think was Ragash. Was he 150? I think he was Ancients. I'm pretty sure Ragash was Ancients. Might have been Sacreds. Tormin was a I would call that, I'm gonna class this as a fusion. It was a Titan event. I'm gonna put in Tormin in here. Titan event. That he was in for a time. I actually to be fair, I pulled him from a random shard, but let's stack this in the guaranteed's favor to make it more dramatic for the end. But you guys watching through and not just skipping to the end know that I did get Torment from the Titan event, but I also got one from a random void. I do sometimes use Ramantu, who I put in as a progression reward. Sometimes pick him. I actually used Nishak a decent chunk. Nishak was a fusion, and he also was a guaranteed champion as well from Ancients. But I got him from the fusion. And yes, sometimes Uko. I don't think I use Uko enough to put him in. I probably don't use the others. I do use Fatalis sometimes as well, believe it or not. So I'm going to put in Fatalis. He was a guaranteed void in a deck of fate. And I do sometimes as well use my other random mythical, which is Fralny. Fralny, funny enough, has not been that helpful. I actually do wonder if my account might be actually better off if I didn't pull a Fralny and we just put the Fralny gear in Fatalis. But hey, that's where we're at. So they're pretty much all the arena champions I actually use. It's a pretty big chunk. It's probably, let me be honest, this is probably more than you should use. And definitely like Tormin is really lacking for gear because Ragash is sort of taking it. Fatalis is pretty lacking for gear because Narses and Fralny are taking it, etc. But that's sort of what we've got going on. Let's jump to Hydra. Let's completely change up Steam. By the way, this is how my team did really bad today because it's on Force. When I say really bad, it's like this. But we've got a lot of the same champs actually we're going to see in Hydra. So the 3 Hydra teams I'm doing right now. And by the way, I did get 1 billion as well on Brutal, which was really fun with Turvold. So we got 1 billion on Nightmare and 1 billion on Brutal. Let me show you the teams. So team number 1, this is my Nightmare team, is Mikage, Krisk, Ninja, Varl, Androck, and Otharion. We already have Mikage on the list. Krisk was a random void. So random void coming in pretty big with the Sifi and the Krisk, let's be real. Ninja, don't have him on the list. Ninja was a free login champion. Ninja. And he's the hard carry for damage on this team. Varl is a progression reward from Doom Tower, guaranteed champion from Doom Tower hard. Androck was a random primal. They're the things I've whaled out on the most, by the way. We'll talk about that maybe at the end, what I've actually spent on to give context. And then Atharion, I think, was a random, might have been a random ancient or Atharion. Again, I don't remember if he was a random ancient or sacred, but I think he was random. So that's that team right there. For my brutal team, this is what I'm using right now. So we've got Wixwell, Turvold, Lazarius. We've got Michinaki, Aestrid, and Podrick. And this one is stacked. So Wixwell was a fusion. We're going to actually have to extend some of these. Ridiculous. Turvold, I got from a guaranteed void event. I think he was maybe 80 void shards for Turvold. Lazarius, random, primal. He's already in there, actually. We've got Michinaki, was guaranteed. I'm going to put it in as a guaranteed sacred for Michinaki. You could have used other shard types. It was a summon rush, I think, or a hero's path or something. I think it was a summon rush event, but you could use like different shard types. I did it with sacreds though. I think most people did it with sacreds. I'm gonna put it in a sacred, but you could use multiple shard types. Aestrid was a fusion, and then Podrick was a guaranteed sacred. So guaranteed sacreds coming in big, as are the guaranteed voids. Then I've got my hard team at the moment. Again, we might switch the difficulties around. Now I do have the 6-star Trunda Soul. Trunda was, I believe, a random ancient for Trunda, I do believe. Yumiko is already in there. We've got Lydia, who's a progression reward for clearing faction wars. She is in there. Lanicus, I think, was put her in as a random sacred. Maybe it was actually, I do feel like she was an ancient. Actually. And then double Nias are actually, funny enough, one Nia was from a random void, and one Nia, I did do the guaranteed once, I believe, for Nia. The second Nia I got from, they've done 3 guaranteed Nias, would you believe? I got the second one, and then I pulled one randomly. So Nia was for both, 2 Nias. And those are the Hydra teams that I'm using right now. So we could do 1 billion damage on Nightmare and Nightmare and Brutal with this, and then I don't know exactly what I haven't run this with the 6-star Trunda yet, so I don't know what the cap is for hard yet. In theory, it might do like, in theory, could do probably like 10 billion or so, I would guess. But I have to build it properly and whatnot. So that's where we are with that. Anything else that we're missing in a big way? If we look at the dungeons, actually can't show you the Iron Twins team. It's all the champs you've seen before. I actually use a Geomancer in Iron Twins, though I should really change that up. So random ancient Geomancer, but I really need to switch that up. The potion keeps. Nothing too exciting there, but Newt is going to come in, and Seer, and even Prince Kymar. So random sacred was Prince Kymar. Let's just put in Kymar. Seer was a random void. For me, didn't need to do a guaranteed for her, though she has been a guaranteed before. And then Newt, who is a fusion. So we actually need to do 1 row above, sure, Aestrid, and we'll put in Newt, and we'll make that centered. So Newt, oh dear, and we broke the box. There we go. Newt coming in. Actually, I have 2 Newts, one from a fusion and one from a random shard. So I'm going to put in the second. I do use the second Newt. I think the second Newt might have been, I'll put in Newt 2 and I'll put in Nia 2 to make that clear. I think it's fair. Yeah, that's where we're at. So for the dungeons there, for the Odin dungeon, again, we are using actually Electron Blade Master. I'll put him, well, I put him in. Is it important enough? We could do it without him. Ugo does get used a decent chunk. Random Ancient would have been Ugo. We'll put, seeing as I am using Elatreon, we'll put him in. And he was I think guaranteed for Sacreds, basically, was Elatreon. Elatreon in there. For Ice Golem, we're using Deacon, Archmage, and we're using Artak. So Artak free login. Artak, Deacon. Archmage here. Archmage actually does get used a decent chunk. Seer again, And Deacon was probably, I think, a random Sacred. We'll put him in there. It doesn't really matter too much. For Dragon, I'm using this. We had Staltus. He was for Guaranteed. So Guaranteed, I think that was Ancients for Staltus. Staltus there was Guaranteed Ancients, I'm pretty sure. So again, the Guaranteed coming in clutch, and Deacon actually showing up a good bit. Wait, is that my actual Dragon team? That's not my actual Dragon team. That's funny. What is wait. What is my actual Dragon team? Sorry, this is my actual Dragon team. I don't actually use Staltus. Take Staltus out. Belay orders on the Staltus. That must have been for a tournament. This is the actual Dragon team. I haven't done Dragon in a while. It's the double newts. Nia, yeah, the resets, blah, blah, blah. That's the actual team. Fire Knight now is this. Ruella was a random ancient, so we actually need to do one above. And actually just those and switch this to Ruella. I think with random ancient, she's super good for lots of different places. Podrick, the double newts Mikage. And yeah, for Sand Devil, Sifi, Ruella, all the same stuff. And for Phantom Shogun's Grove, it's pretty much the same stuff. We should actually put in Random Void for Renegade because she is showing up a decent bit. So Random Void would be Renegade, who's an epic. And there we go. So I think this sums up all of the core champions I use. There might be some I use from time to time, but these, in my opinion, are the really important ones. The ones that are key to my arena teams, my Hydra teams, and to my speed farm teams. These are the core. So I think Random Ancients is doing really well. Now, admittedly, there are several epics in there, but Random Ancients has done us fairly well. Atharion, Rotus, Trunda, Lanicus, there's been some good ones. After that, though, Fusion champions are absolutely freaking massive, and most of them are recent. Ancora, Armans, Wixwell, Aestrid, all from this year. Newt, I think, was last year, and Tormund was recent enough as well. So all the fusions I'm using are basically very recent fusions, I would say, within the last year. All of the fusions, and that's Tormund technically was a Titan event, but you know, that's kind of nuts. I get Nishak was the year before that actually, but his Guaranteed was more recently. But overwhelmingly, it's recent fusions. Older fusions not getting a look in. Older ones not getting a look in, but the recent ones absolutely are. Progression rewards are pretty huge as well, actually. Getting through the game, Mikage, Mithrala, Ramantu, Vara, Lydia, and Archmage Helmet. All great champions, all getting lots of use. Free login champions getting a big look in as well. Now, random voids have been pretty good for us. Now, and funny enough, a lot of these, though, are very accessible. Nia, Seer, Renegade. One's a rare and two are epics. Now, it takes a while, of course, to get them. It took me a good while to get... I got Seer fairly early on, but it took a good while to get that Nia. But the only Void Legendaries from randoms have been Sifi and Krisk. Other than that, there are Void Legendaries. In fact, let me put Ethos in. I use Ethos, to be fair, for campaign farming. I forgot about that area of the game. I do campaign farm with Ethos. That's not very important, though. There are so many champs that can campaign farm. So I'd say he's fairly unimportant. In fact, it's unimportant enough that I will delete it. I actually probably could just... I now use Atharion for farming Minotaur. I probably could use him for farming campaign as well. So yeah, Sifi Krisk. Sifi Krisk there. Random Sacreds. Again, we've got an epic there. The legendary is pretty big, though. Kymar and Newt, kind of game-changing. Random Primals have been a good chunk, but I've spent $200 on Primals. I've never bought a Sacred Shard, ever. We do get some... as a content creator, we get like some gems for free every week. So... we technically could use those for ancients, but I normally wouldn't. But I buy on and... so in terms of my spending, I buy on and off the daily gem. I was free to play for a couple of years. Since becoming a content creator, I've been spending again on and off. I on and off buy the daily gem pack, on and off buy the Forge Pass. I have bought some voids in the past. The main thing I buy is some primals now, because I enjoy pulling the mythicals. That's my poison, as it were. So I spent about $200 on that. Maybe $50 or so on voids, and that's about it in terms of shards. But one thing you can see that is dramatic: 10x, 15x events. Now, to be fair, this somewhat reflects my pulling practices. Yumiko is the only one. Now, Yumiko is absolutely game-changing. She is insanely, insanely good. And she is in multiple of my teams, in multiple areas of the game. So she is completely bonkers, but she is the only champion I've ever pulled from 10x or 15x. I guess 10x, 15x Primal also doesn't exist. But for mythicals. But yeah, she's the only one from progressive or 10x events that I mean, there's others I use sometimes, every now and then. But for the most part, this has been effectively useless for me. Then guaranteeds are pretty solid as well. Guaranteed ancients, not that good. I guess they don't put, they have been useful to me historically. But Goffred and Murgash, they are more so the B team as well. Like, they're not crazy important. And like Staltis is kind of in that B team as well. I could do without them. So the guaranteed ancients, historically, were useful for progression, but for endgame haven't been that insane. The guaranteed voids, I would say, are very useful. Narcisse, absolutely useful. Fatalis is more of a luxury, though it is nice to have other HP nukers. Hervold is brilliant, so underrated. And then the Nia has been, essential for the Seer team, not the Seer, for the Trenda team. So that's pretty nice. The guaranteed voids have been okay. Guaranteed sacreds, though, I think are the winners by miles. Elatrion, not super useful, honestly. That's more of the meme. In fact, I'm going to delete him because he is more for just that Odin event dungeon, and he's very, very replaceable. But Elva, Michinaki, and Podrick have all been absolute game changers. So I would say this, in terms of guaranteed primals don't exist. Sacred's number 1. Void's number 2. Ancients number 3 in terms of the value for those. In terms of the random pulls, I'd say probably Ancients have been better overall, or, well, Primals, because I spent in them, have probably been the best. That's reflecting the money spent. But really, as you can see, again, the free champions, the guaranteed champions that you can get have been an absolutely massive, massive part of what's going on. In fact, the most champions I use, probably just some random shards from playing for a good while. But, then it's the guaranteed free sources from playing the game. Logins, progression, fusions, and then guaranteed champions being pretty good. And there you go. I thought this was interesting to do a breakdown. I am curious what yours would look like. I'm curious as well if we took different levels. Like, if we took bigger spenders, you're going to see this stuff impact much more. Well, I get, again, 10x 15 doesn't exist, but you're going to see this and random primals impact a hell of a lot more. I haven't included prism shards. You could put prism shards into one of these, I guess. Like, we could put prism shards in here. I've got nothing from prisms, by the way, so that's why I didn't put it in. But I think the spender stuff would become much bigger, and then the spending champions would make the random and the guaranteed champions less valuable, because the ones you can spend for are just going to be better. So they would be crowding out some of these other options. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So, I mean, for me, this puts it definitely for me in context. Certainly some of this reflects my playstyle, but nonetheless, coming into it, yeah, when there's news on these progressive, we constantly get these progressive events and 10x events, and going like, man, like, that's just genuinely just doesn't add up to much. All of those events just don't add up to much. Guaranteed events are big, and yeah, progression and fusion stuff is really big. Logins, like, do not sleep on your fusions, your progressions, your logins. There you go. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.